Well, what a surprise, it's 5 o'clock and the postman just turned up with the computer for the GM project. Yeah, it was supposed to come tomorrow. So I thought, well, I'll take back everything I said about Canada Post. You know something, they got, their heating system didn't work. This is like kind of ironic for the insurance, eh? And they all got gassed. They have natural gas heating and it leaked and they're all suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning in the post office, our local shop. And they're all thinking, well, oh, maybe it's the battery alarm going off. One of them got sent to hospital with carbon monoxide poisoning. Anyway, that's beside the point. Now, these are waterproof connectors on here, so we don't have much of a problem. But where am I going to put it? Well, I don't want to go too far with, where am I going? I don't want to go too far from the engine. So I'm going to put a bracket here, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I think I will. I'll put a bracket like that. Well, actually it's going to be like that. And it's going to be supported under the wing. Now I have to just be careful I don't hit the bracket for the, not the bracket, the catch thing here for the hold down for the bonnet. So I think that's where it's going to go. I can move it around a bit, but there's plenty of wire. But the idea is that when you've got this on, if you want to take the engine out, for example, you want to get at the plugs and take them out. Now people say, well, why don't you put it under the wing or under the inside the cab where it's dry? Well, you can't get much drier than under the wing. I mean, we're not going to go submerged in this thing. And besides that, it means redoing all these wires and extending them. A lot of job. And if you make a mistake, well, that's it. I'm not really familiar with that, so I'm going to leave it as is. So the first thing we're going to do is to take off the antenna, and then we're going to take off this pop riveted on wing top. So I've got the ECU now mounted under the wing, so it should be out of the way. And these have all got sort of waterproof connections in. I ain't worried about splashes and things like that, but you've got no direct contact with water. And I can always put a little shield around here just to prevent any splashes coming through the radiator. I'm not bothered about that. And besides that, when it was in the GM Jimmy, well, it was stuck right in the middle of nowhere, right on top of the engine sort of thing. Well, that was no good, but it kept it warm. Now, what I'm doing today is tracing wires, and I did have, oh, here we are. I printed out a series of pinouts from the computer. These connectors here correspond to these here. There's a blue and a green, and we've marked off actually the things that it was said in another thing. Wow, gets where it gets really confusing, because you've got to go through about 5 or 6 different websites to find out the information and put it together. These ones here that are sort of highlighted are the oil pressure sensor and these battery voltage class 2 serial data. That's the things that we're looking for, because they come out at a plug here. Yeah, and that's it. Now what I'm doing at the moment is I've just traced out the pin 58 OBD2, which is this one, and this goes to your OBD2 connector. Let me show you what it is. So here's an OBD2 connector I pinched off a truck in the scrap yard. I just cut it off to give me it actually. But you can see the wires don't really correspond to the same colours. Typical GM. Nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount that probably up here, because there's no point putting it routing it all the way through the car, because you're going to be working on your car anyway on the engine, so you might as well have the plug nearest to what you're looking at. Makes sense, doesn't it? So I'm going to mount that on, but first of all I've got to find the wires, and the thing is, where have I put it now? That's for the oxygen sensors. This thing here. Wires everywhere. So if I keep that onto there, and by the time I got my wiring all sorted out, that should come out quite nicely over there without rerouting it. So I've got to get the OBD2 working, I've got to get the check engine light working, and it's all on here. So that's what I'm going to do. But the purpose of this video was when we were searching for the pinouts and the connections and the continuity test. That's all you need. You don't really need any fancy equipment. You just need your regular multimeter. And what you have to do, get into the habit of doing this, because it'll save you hours and hours of work. If you put it on continuity, test it first. Always test. And especially these bloody things here, these connectors, because they have a habit of breaking inside here, and you'll be using them as test leads and things like that, and you won't get a continuity circuit, and you're wondering why, and it's the lead, not the circuit. Now this one here, I've soldered the end so that we can push into the pin. So when we're looking for the continuity of a pin, for example, like this one here, we wanted pin 58. Oh, no, where is it now? Here. Pin 58 is here. So we push that in. And the thing is, we don't want to damage the... we don't want to push something in that's too big, that's going to damage the socket inside. And then, if we go to our plug, which is here, we will find that that one there is our OBD2 signal. So that's it. So I'm going to get on with doing that. I've got a lot to do. I've got the fuse box partially built up. This is the fuel pump relay. These are just a few circuits. I'm thinking about modifying it a bit, because I wasn't too happy with the size of the wires. Because if there's a load of pink wires that all are on what is it now, 15 amps, but I couldn't get them all into one thing, so I had to put them onto one big lead and then pigtail them, you know, like tie them all together. There was something else I wasn't happy about. Oh, I think it was the feed for the ignition. This one here, I'm not sure if it's going to take the amperage. I really don't. So I might just put that onto a relay that switches on the higher current, which is this one. This one comes from your battery, and use the battery. So use this as a switch to switch this, and then just jump it round. It is kind of complicated to explain, but it actually is very, very easy. But these wires on the power wire here, the white wire that usually goes to your injector pump, only fires up the solenoid. This one has to fire up all these wires here, these 15 amp, we've got 15 amps, 20 amps, and we've even got a 30 amp in there. That's for the fuel pump. So I'm thinking it might not be up to scratch. Better safe than sorry, and we're going to do it and do it once, and that's it. And then that, once that's on, that is going to sit on a bracket around about here somewhere, I think. I don't know. I have to work that one out. But it's going to be good. It's going to work out quite nice. And again, that's going to be strong enough. I've taken off the wing support, but I'm going to make another wing support that comes down. But I couldn't really think of another place to put the damn computer, because the wires wouldn't stretch. You know, knowing my luck, I might just move it later and put it up there. We'll see. I thought we'd have a little demonstration of how to do a decent ground. Grounds are extremely important, and these things here, even though you fit them with a good crimp connector, they're not all that good. You want to make a good positive connection. Now I'm sort of working on this thing, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. No, well, I have, but... So what we're going to do is we're going to bare a couple of wires off there. I hope this comes out. First of all, we're going to get some heat shrink. This is the stuff with the glue in it. Good stuff. We're going to twist, you know, sort of twist our wires together roughly, put our heat shrink on, and move that far down the line. Now the reason why I'm doing this is I want the ground for this fuse box here, the one I've just put in, and also for the OBD2 connector that's just fallen on the floor. So first of all, we get our big soldering iron, and these are really, really good. I can't emphasise how good they are. The little pathetic ones you get like a stick, forget them. These are good. So once you get used to soldering, you know that how you can do it. I could use my little soldering clamps, but this is sort of easier. We're going to solder the wires together first. And get used to blowing that rubbish out the way. Right, so that's them. That's them positively soldered together. The next thing, we're going to get one of these connectors and take that piece off and throw it away. Next, we're going to put that connector onto that solder we've just made. Now if it doesn't go on, look here children, you see it's got a split in there. Get your snips and just pull it like that. Make it a bit bigger. Put it on like that. Give it a kick nip. You see, the thing is, these things here are copper, not brass, which is a little bit too soft. And now we're going to get hold of our soldering iron again. Wait till it warms up a bit. And then we're going to solder that on. There you go. It's a bit tricky. There you go. Ooh, too much on there. Never mind. So there you go. Now we let it cool down a little bit. Then because we're going to put that connection on the on here. Look. Oops, where are you? We're going to put that connection on there, which is a standard Land Rover ground. Right. So we've got that on. It's cooled down a bit. We're going to take our heat shrink, keep the wires parallel. You know, keep them together. Put the heat shrink right over the top like that, and then get hold of your hot air gun, which you should have plugged in, but I haven't. There you go. Takes a bit of time, a bit longer than a crimp. But that is, well, you see it when I turn it around. That's a nice eyelet on there. And the other end obviously goes to the OBD2. Obviously leave lots of wire on. That can go up to there. Job done. So what have you been doing? Why do always get the wrong way around, don't I? So what have I been doing? Well, I've got the fuse box on here. I originally thought I was going to put it here. I touched the soldering iron. I should have had my goggles on, but that wouldn't have helped. I was going to put the I was going to put the fuse box in, but I found a better place there. So when you take the top off, there's all your fuses and relays. That was nice. That came off Uncle Amazon. The only thing I'm stuck for, is this thing here. And I don't know. I don't understand it, and I'm trying to get some answers. This goes into the back of the alternator. Now, usually on Land Rovers we're familiar with a brown and a yellow tracer, and the brown and the yellow tracer goes to the warning light. However, in this instance, you've got a red wire and it looks like a green wire. Now, I've read through the book that the green wire goes to the warning light in the dash, but it doesn't come out anywhere. So I think it goes into the computer, which is here, and then gets generated out as another signal. So I'm going to leave that off for a minute, but I've got the wire here. Now, the beauty about these GM Vortex engines are that it's got you can't see it because it's down here. I've put the 300 TDI temperature sensor into the head. The Vortex temperature sensor is over the other side, which is good. And also, I might as well tell you, because you might want to do this in future, the oil pressure wire, actually I put a T into it, so it's got the original GM and on the other side the Land Rover oil pressure warning light. The reason for that is the warning light, apparently, it does, like we said, let's go back. The pressure switch that goes for the GM actually controls your fuel pump, because until there's a little bit of pressure, it won't allow the computer, which is here, to fire up the fuel pump. It cuts it out. It's kind of clever. It's what they used to do on the old Land Rover 3.5s. If there was no oil pressure, it used to cut the fuel off, or something like that. Oh no, it used to cut the ignition off. That was right. So after that, I'm just almost there. I've got. So what's that thing? Oh, that's the oil. That's the water temperature one. I'm almost there. You know, it's really frustrating. I've got the hoses on the engine, which I really wanted to run nice smooth hoses and without putting joints here. I didn't want to do that, but to be honest, I don't know how this is going to work. So I didn't want to go to a great expense of finding moulded hoses and finding they weren't going to work. The same goes for the mounting for the ECU. I just put some wood strips on there as a packing, so I could actually use wood screws into the mounting bracket that I made, so I could move it around a bit so I wasn't tied. Once I'm happy, I'll redo it again. All in all, it's not looking too bad. I've got the fuel, like I say, I've got the fuel pump lined up. This has turned out really nice down here. Let me get the camera off the stand. I'll show you. I scrapped the video that I was supposed to do. But you can see now I've got the fan on. The fan turns. I've got that little sensor in the hose that was missing. I've got the grounds on now. These wires here are the original TDI harness, but the thing I'm stuck for, as I mentioned, is where on earth do I put this wire? It goes into here somewhere. This is the alternator, but I'm not sure where it goes. Anyway, it turned out nice. The OBD2 I'm going to put up there, but I've run out of sheathing as well, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I've got some petrol in it. I wonder if it'll crank over. Should we try? Why not?